Jaguar Wright has just revealed what 50 Cent cut from the Diddy documentary, and it's far darker than what Netflix chose to show. She's naming names, leaking footage, and exposing 50 Cent's true agenda behind the project. People are focused on what actually made it into Sean Combs, The Reckoning on Netflix, but Jaguar is showing what was left on the cutting room floor, and it wasn't removed because it lacked impact. According to her, the scenes are explosive, implicating major industry figures like Jay-Z and Clive Davis, who barely got mentioned in the final release. She's releasing names, evidence, and footage the public has never seen before. This isn't just about one documentary, it's decades of hidden industry secrets coming to light. Many powerful people don't want these truths known. Stick around, because what Jaguar has shared could completely change how you view the entire situation and the inner workings of the music industry.
Think about that. Look at what happened from that. See, and this is why this documentary is, I'm not calling it a documentary. I'm calling it a mockumentary. That's what I call it.
No, that's Spinal Tap.
I call it a mockumentary. I feel like this whole thing is mocking me. That's how I feel it. It's wild. But go ahead.
Was there anything at all that you were watching this documentary that was new information to you?
New?
Yes.
No.
From the history of Puff, him coming up, anything new?
No. There was nothing new for me. There was nothing new for me. The only thing that was new was what was coming forward that had never come forward before. Kirk Burroughs finally admitting out loud that he had been essayed by
50 Cent spent nearly 2 years creating this 4-part Netflix series, covering Diddy's life from his Harlem childhood to the rise of Bad Boy Entertainment and his recent arrest and conviction. The documentary offers an in-depth look at one of hip-hop's biggest moguls. It includes never-before-seen footage of Diddy speaking with his lawyers just days before his arrest, interviews with people from his inner circle, and even conversations with jurors from his trial. Access like this is almost unheard of, but here, the key point you need to understand.
It don't even make sense. I want to put her on blast because she was telling me, she was saying to me that what I was asking for was crazy and they wasn't spending money like that. I'm talking about you got footage, you got clothing, you got I was doing footage, I had pictures, all the stuff that I had, you could figure out a way to pay a brother and stuff like that. And then I was telling her about some prices that I've already received, and I had the invoices to show it. And then she was calling me like I was lying. I was like, yo, who do you think you talking to? You know what I'm saying? And she was talking about, there's no way nobody paid. Nobody what? I say, first of all you people come with these documentaries and stuff. The first thing you tell me, y'all tell these people out here that y'all don't pay, and y'all pay. If you can make a picture look like $10,000, $15,000, you know what I'm saying? You can sit here and tell me that you're gonna pay me for my time sitting right down here with y'all. You understand? So then, one thing led to another, and I was like, all right, well then, F you, I spoke to 50, and then she said 50, and this is exact words that came out her mouth. 50 does not determine what goes in and go out of this documentary.
Not everyone who was expected to appear in the documentary ended up in the final cut. Gene Deal, Diddy's former bodyguard and someone who likely knows more than anyone, was removed after disagreements with director Alex Stapleton over payment and creative control. Jaguar Wright's footage was also rejected, labeled too controversial even for a documentary centered on a man convicted of serious charges. Think about that for a moment. If this project is supposed to be The Reckoning, why were so many voices left out? Why are viewers only getting a partial story? Jaguar didn't hold back when reacting. She called the project a mockumentary, not a documentary, claiming it insults the audience's intelligence. According to her, nearly 80% of what's shown are things she has already been saying publicly for years. She said, I feel like this whole thing is mocking me. And before you assume she's just bitter, wait until you hear what she says is missing. Once you see the full picture, her anger makes a lot more sense. This isn't about ego, it's about the truth being diluted to protect certain people. And this is where things get suspicious.
Yeah, he was there for so much of it. Because right after the diddler beat the crap out of Steve Stout, the Jigga Man poked up on Rivera. Not long after that. All of this stuff happened around the same time.
Why do you think Jay-Z wasn't involved in none of this?
Well, I mean, he was involved in a lot of it. You mean, why wasn't he mentioned?
Yeah, mentioned in the documentary at all.
I mean, there was a lot of people that weren't mentioned. Matter of fact, not too many people in the industry were mentioned who were there. and present. Isn't that cute?
Very true.
They found a way to tell that story while they kept everybody else clean.
Jaguar points out that many major industry figures barely appear in the documentary or are missing entirely. These are people who were right at the center of the action. Jay-Z, for example, is mentioned only once or twice. Stevie J, Diddy's longtime producer, is completely removed from the story, even though he lived at Diddy's Star Island house during key events. And Clive Davis, who owned 51% of Bad Boy Records, gets roughly 35 seconds of screen time in the entire 4-part series. It doesn't add up. How can a documentary claiming to cover Diddy's life and career give such minimal attention to the very people who shaped it?
Who's the worst celebrity like that you've been around is like the most full of sin? I know no sin is greater, but like just was like, damn, this
Clive Davis. Devil incarnate. Clive Davis. Janis Joplin. He blackmailed Betty Wright so she wouldn't tell anybody that he Janis Joplin. He killed Whitney Houston.
When asked who the worst celebrity she'd ever been around was, Jaguar didn't hesitate: Clive Davis. She called him the devil incarnate and went further, claiming he was responsible for multiple deaths in the industry, including Janis Joplin and Whitney Houston. Now, whether all of that is true or not, it's striking that someone with that level of influence and such serious allegations gets less than a minute of screen time in a documentary supposedly about accountability. According to Jaguar, the documentary barely touches him because addressing Clive Davis would expose the entire power structure behind Bad Boy Records. It would reveal just how deep the influence runs, and that's precisely what certain people want to keep hidden. Next, Jaguar brings up Kim Porter, a segment that really frustrated her.
That was interesting to watch, you don't think? Kalima's testimony? She was probably the most pitiful witness they brought up to speak about all of this in the entire thing. Kalima?
Wait, why you say that? She was emotional. She was
emotional? That's what you call it?
That's what I'm trying to call it.
Capricorn Clark was emotional. I'll give her emotional. I'm sitting there looking at someone, in my opinion, who appears to be struggling with a substance issue, trying not to fall apart on camera. Meanwhile, nobody paying attention to the fact that she's sitting there afraid to really say anything at all because she's in the middle of a custody battle.
Jaguar believes Kim Porter wasn't properly represented in the documentary. Kim, Diddy's children's mother who died under mysterious circumstances in 2018, should have been central to the story. Instead, her perspective was filtered through others, like Keena Harper, a former artist of Diddy, speaking on her behalf rather than letting Kim's story speak for itself.
What are your thoughts as far as how they portrayed Kim Porter with this Reckoning documentary?
They didn't portray her at all.
Yeah, they didn't.
That's the thing. They didn't portray her at all. She was spoken for by Kalima. That was interesting to watch, you don't think? Kalima's testimony? She was probably the most pitiful witness they brought up to speak about all of this in the entire thing. Kalima?
Wait, why you say that? She was emotional. She was
emotional? That's what you call it?
That's what I'm trying to call it.
Capricorn Clark was emotional. I'll give her emotional. I'm sitting there looking at someone, in my opinion, who appears to be struggling with a substance issue, trying not to fall apart on camera. Meanwhile, nobody paying attention to the fact that she's sitting there afraid to really say anything at all because she's in the middle of a custody battle and she's trying to get her kids back. And she's got to be careful of whatever she says because it could make it impossible for her to get her kids back. Did nobody pay attention to that?
Yeah, no, she said she wanted $5,000 from Diddy. And
she wanted $5,000 from her former bandmate and a billionaire. And he wouldn't even give her $5,000 to help her get her kids back? Why not? But then again, nobody's talking about who her husband is and who her husband is to Diddy. He's one of Diddy's #1 minions.
Oh yeah, no, that's those.
He's a loyalist. He is a Diddy doo-wop bop. Kalina's also bisexual. So I'm finding it kind of interesting that she didn't see anything. She wasn't around anything. She didn't know about anything. And this is not me putting anything crazy on her. This is exactly what she said when she was on Love and Hip Hop Atlanta with Stevie J, who was also not mentioned at all during this documentary. Because Stevie J was living at the Star Island house. Tell me something. How do you have all of that stuff about Little Rod and there's no Stevie J? Now, it was really interesting because there was some of the footage that Little Rod has shared with this documentary that he shared with nobody else that he did an interview with, and none of that made it into the trial. There's images of him with French Montana and the Diddler on the yacht. Yeah. But nothing of Stevie J. Surgically removed.
Jaguar watched Kina Harper's interview and called it pitiful, not because she was lying, but because Jaguar believes Kina was holding back. At the time, Kina was in a custody battle for her children, and anything she said on camera could have been used against her in court. Adding to the pressure, her husband is allegedly one of Diddy's closest associates, a loyal Diddy dub, as Jaguar called him. Kina was asked to speak about events at Star Island, the same house where Lil Rod was filming and Stevie J was living, yet she claimed to see nothing suspicious. According to Jaguar, this was a choice, both on Kina's part and in the editing of the documentary. Gandeal's story further explains the behind-the-scenes issues. Diddy's longtime bodyguard was meant to be a major part of the series, but after a tense call with director Alex Stapleton over pay and respect, he walked away. His absence was a deliberate loss for the project.
Community, they left a whole lot of key things out. If they was going to do something and they're going to say in the reckoning of Sean Combs the reckoning or Diddy the reckoning and stuff like that, it should have been a lot of people that we lost because of him. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't only Big. It wasn't only Tupac. You understand? For the atmosphere that he put those kids in, you got a guy named Anthony Wolf Jones, who was from Bad Boy, from its conception as doing security and being one of the financiers of Puff having to have some money to keep Big and Craig Mack around before he got to Clyde Date.
Gene said the documentary failed to address key tragedies, like the death of Anthony Wolf Jones, Diddy's former bodyguard and close associate who was murdered. Gan explained that the production team supposedly lacked the necessary information to tell these stories properly, but it seems clear that the real reason is different. Addressing these events would raise too many questions, expose too many connections, and implicate powerful people who prefer to stay off the record. And that's the bigger picture. This isn't just about what was cut from one documentary. It's about protecting an entire network of influence.
Want to know why there is no vindication for me? Because for 4 years, I've been screaming, not just Diddy, but Diddy and Jay-Z are monsters. And the victim-making machine kept going on.
Jay-Z has been notable by his silence since these charges were brought against Diddy. Why do you think that is?
Because that's what he does. He starts little fires everywhere, forces everyone involved to go and carry water while he sneaks away out a response. That changes now, Sean.
Remember when Jaguar went on Piers Morgan's show and openly called Jay-Z and Diddy monsters on live TV? The clip went viral instantly. Everyone was talking about it. But then something strange happened. The video disappeared within a day. Removed. Gone. That kind of quick takedown from such a major platform raises questions. Piers Morgan's show reaches millions, yet someone had enough influence to get that segment pulled almost immediately. To Jaguar, this shows the level of power certain people hold. Power that shapes what the public is allowed to see. Even big platforms like Netflix or 50 Cent's G-Unit films aren't completely immune to that pressure.
He'd been trying to get to Bieber for a minute, and his management was backing him off. But it wasn't until Usher took over management and had guardianship and gave temporary guardianship to the diddler for 48 hours. Think about that. He had already been to the hospital. That situation that Gene was talking about. And you still took Bieber there. But you got custody of him first.
Jaguar claims there was footage involving Justin Bieber and Diddy that was cut from the documentary, and the context makes it even more disturbing. According to her, Diddy had tried to get close to Bieber for years, but his management blocked him. Sensing something was off, later Usher, who had his own complicated history with Diddy, temporarily gave Diddy guardianship of Bieber for 48 hours. This was after Bieber had already been hospitalized, though Jaguar doesn't specify why. Gene Deal reportedly discussed it in interviews. Jaguar asks the question on everyone's mind, does that sound like protection? Does that sound responsible? The footage allegedly exists but didn't make Netflix's final cut. Jaguar believes major figures like Usher and Bieber were protected, possibly through legal pressure or settlements. Including it would have raised questions about other celebrities who knew what was happening. She's furious because she doesn't think 50 Cent made the documentary purely out of goodwill.
It's trying to take down Diddy.
No, he's trying to move Diddy and Jay-Z out the way so he can run it. And the truth is, I ain't mad at him. I just don't trust him. Because the truth is, he would just be another kind of monster in another kind of way. He don't want things to change. He just want to be the one that's running it. See? Easiest thing to do is to take your enemy's feet and hold them to the fire for things you know that they won't admit. Which is why when that C&D came out, he took all of that Diddy shit down. Because of his tape, say. What is it with all of these pretenders? And now they got an even bigger one named Curtis Jackson.
Jaguar claims 50 Cent isn't making the documentary to help victims or reveal the truth. She believes his goal is to push Diddy and Jay-Z aside so he can take control of the hip-hop industry himself. In her words, he doesn't want change. He just wants to be in charge, becoming another kind of monster in another way. She points out that 50 Cent has been feuding with Diddy for over 20 years, trolling him on social media and making jokes. So this sudden focus on accountability doesn't add up. Jaguar didn't stop there. She alleges that 50 Cent has been involved in toxic waste dumping at his Millennium Studios property in Shreveport for profit, claiming she has proof. Her message was clear: act responsibly or she'll reveal his secrets. Jaguar's frustration stems from seeing the documentary framed as justice, while she believes the real agenda is power, not accountability.
Been to a P. Diddy party?
Yeah, many, honestly.
And so, can you take us through, like, what goes on, like, when you were there?
Money
Right.
and sex.
Were you surprised that there were so many cameras in his houses?
No!
So let me ask you, when you hear that Cassie was told to hire male escorts to come in what they call freak-offs now,
Yeah.
is that something normal that
Yeah.
happens in Hollywood?
Yeah.
Freak-offs.
Hey, everybody know that. I've been saying it.
So why does Puffy, why now? Why?
Because he's the acceptable monster at this time. Like R. Kelly was the last time I sat on this couch.
Jaguar has been speaking out about Diddy's behavior for years, never sugarcoating what she saw at his parties. She said bluntly, money, it sucks. She wasn't shocked by reports of cameras in his homes or allegations about Cassie being asked to hire male escorts. She's been raising these concerns publicly for years, but most people ignored her, dismissing her as bitter or chasing clout. Now with Diddy convicted, everyone acts surprised, but Jaguar has been shouting the truth the entire time, saying everybody knew, freak-offs. She argues the industry chooses which monsters to expose, and when pointing out that Diddy is now the acceptable target, much like R. Kelly was before, she even claims Jay-Z is next. Jaguar is no longer holding back. She plans to release more names, footage, and evidence that Netflix left out. According to her, the documentary is only the tip of the iceberg. Key players like Jay-Z, Justin Bieber, and Clive Davis were barely mentioned or entirely cut. Jaguar also believes 50 Cent has his own motives, not necessarily helping victims. She's calling out the power structures and narrative control in the industry, urging others to pay attention.